Ladies and gentlemen, the long awaited, highly anticipated, it took me by surprise. I have this guest who's a hotshot soccer coach down in this Tampa, uh, in the Florida. And this guy is an amazing guy. And I tell you one thing, just so you know, Ethan, you've been well certified just by the stories people tell about you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now you're on your own. But anyway, you got Ethan, but I don't know your last name.
And I'm Ethan Figgener.
Ethan Figner. I mean, that's a soccer name, bro. That's a soccer. And under full disclosure, you in 2019 you played on the high school champions league down there in Florida. Am I correct?
Correct. Yes.
Then you played some college ball, and then you start coaching with some college, and you found your thrill down there with another coach that you know, and you have the ability to uh, to be a special guy where you won player as a player and to coach a championship high school champions league champion. Has anybody ever told you that, or you just go through it? If it happens, it happens.
Yeah. No. It's been exciting. Because the Champions League started. I think it was my senior year. It was the first year, and we won it over at Eastlake High School. We played against Shorecrest in 2019 and beat them in the final. That was when I was a player. Then now we're in the year of 2026, and I'm back in the high school game as a coach.
Man, I mean to tell you, that's something, man. That is something. Just the goosebumps, man. I got goosebumps up here. So, is there a reason that you would like people to know why you why you came back to the high school game?
Yeah, yeah. The high school game is it's different than obviously club soccer. Club soccer has its own benefits, and I do think obviously club soccer is a very important place for players to develop and grow and get recruited at the college level, as that's probably where most likely you'll get recruited, or from college ID camps, etc. But the high school game definitely has something else to offer that not all clubs are able to offer. Um, but I actually, so I was a assistant coach on the boys side with Ryan Seidel. Um, I played under him, and then I was his assistant coach at Calvary Christian High School while I was still a college coach for 2 years. And then the girls' head coach opportunity became available at Calvary, and they had brought me in for that. And this is now my second year at the program. But yeah, the high school game is very different in regards to the culture and the environment that's created. And now that you have the Champions League, it's you play for something more, where these players have they play their match, and then the next day they have to go to school and they have accountability for their matches if it's a win or a loss. And um, yeah, I just think the high school game it offers something different, which is why I do enjoy it. But yeah, it definitely does not replace club or all these ID camps, things like that. But having the Champions League in the high school season, it just offers something special to players to be involved in.
Right on, right on. Hey, and can you go back? Do you remember when you were a player, your senior year, and all of a sudden somebody told you about this Champions League? What kind of how was your method going? Hearing about it and then working towards it and being in the final and time is ticking.
Yeah, It was interesting because I remember obviously playing our senior year. We obviously have district playoffs, regional playoffs, all through the FHSAA. But I remember our coach Thurston. He had mentioned to us about the Champions League. I believe there was still group stages at the time. Um, I know it was structured a little bit differently than what it is now with how many teams are involved. Um, but yeah, the first year we had a semifinal against Wiregrass. I think the neutral site for all teams was at Wiregrass, so the semifinals and the finals took place there. I know now Jim Hart has been able to secure Al Lang and Blake Stadium on the girls' side. So the Champions League has definitely been growing. But we played at Wiregrass. We played against Wiregrass our semifinal, and then we played against Shorecrest in the final. But I just remember it being very special since it was the first one. It was the inaugural year. It's funny. There's a story I could tell. I'll make a long story short, just to show, I guess, like the value that we had in regards to like what we really thought of the Champions League when we were players. I played at a club, and we had 2 ECNL games. I think it was in Georgia or Tennessee. We had to travel, and obviously getting to the semifinals and finals in the Champions League were result based. We had to get there, and once we did, I had to tell my club coach. Well, I made the difficult decision of not going to play my ECNL games because I truly just wanted to play in the Champions League because we had a trophy to win. And I was just excited. I think the whole team was excited. I was the captain, and I felt the responsibility to help lead, the team, and just a lot of them were my friends. So we wanted the opportunity to compete in this tournament that no one else has won before because it's its first year. So I remember telling my club coach, I said, "Hey, unfortunately, I can't make these 2 ECNL the regular season games." I already was committed to a college at the time as well, and I guess looking back, it could have been a little bit selfish, but at the other end, I had to make a decision. I couldn't be at 2 places at once, so I decided obviously to play for the high school team. But we went on and we went on to win the Champions League in 2019. So yeah, that's what I remember from it. I remember making a really difficult decision and choosing between the club soccer ECNL games or playing in the Champions League. And I just from the friends I had and just already being at a college and the regular season games, there were other players that could play instead of me. I just really genuinely wanted to play in the Champions League match with my friends, and luckily we were able to win it. So, yeah.
Ethan, you are now well certified with that, baby. Being a captain, you stayed with your team, man, and you brought them home the trophy, baby. Nice going.
Yeah, no, it was exciting. It was a good. I saw some pictures, and at the time I didn't know who Jim Hart was, but I have a picture with Jim Hart holding the trophy with 2 of my other friends, my other teammates. But yeah, no, it's just it's funny looking back, and you're like, oh wow, you were part of something that no one can take away. So
yeah. Man. I mean, what it's like a Newt Rockney inspiration story when you tell the girls all that story, man. That's pumping somebody up, man. You get motivated. Okay, the story comes out is that do you believe that you paid your dues to be able to be a coach, head coach by yourself, or do you feel like you're still, in the novice stage and developing?
As a coach.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think as a coach, there's a lot of younger coaches. I'm only 25 years old. I think there's a lot of younger coaches that sometimes their ego or they struggle in regards to pushing away their having a hard head and allowing to grow, right? Taking information and learning from others that have been a part of the game on the other side for much longer. And I think for me, I think I like to think that I'm a good coach, but there's always room to grow. I just, for me, the way I lead or the way I coach is through servant leadership. So I'm someone that gets involved in training sessions. I'm very active within the players and ensuring that we show them the activities, we show them what we want. Match day -1, we're showing them the formation, the shifting when we don't have the ball, when we have the ball, what does it look like? So all of those things, I've learned when I was a grad assistant coach at the college level, and then I was a full-time assistant coach at the college level, and then going to the high school game. I think being part of the college realm and then going into high school definitely benefited me a lot. But yeah, I think I'm very young in my career, but I just do it because I love it. The money's all right. The money helps,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily for that. It's
Right.
just because I love the game and I get to be part of something special beyond
Well,
at the high school level. Yeah.
well, under full disclosure, you had me at hello, but when you said servant leadership, holy cow, bro! You're one of the kind, man. That's the way to do things, I think. Can you disclose for the general public that do not know? Can you explain servant leadership?
Yeah. So servant leadership is like, I think that's how I led as a captain as well, is you lead by example. You don't just tell people what to do. You show them and you're a part of it. And so I think that's a big thing in especially cultivating like a group of people to come together is, showing them that you're not there just to boss them around. You're there to lead and be part of it. So as a coach, as a leader, as a head coach, now I coach on the girls' side, on the women's side, showing them, whether it's going through film review, whether it's at a training session, being intentional with every single detail and taking the time and showing them that I took the time and being involved in, in the trainings in their lives. I think it adds, a lot of value. And for me as a Christian, the way Jesus was is, being a servant leader, right? He
Right.
washed the people's feet. Growing from that and putting it towards my everyday life has benefited me. And so now just doing that as a coach we've had a lot of success already in our first year. So, I continue doing that, and hopefully that explains servant leadership.
Right on. Right on. And the story goes is that you mentioned about film. How
Yeah.
say from 1 to 5, how much do you emphasize the value of watching uh, game reviews?
Yeah. Well, we do, just to put in perspective, when we're in season. So the high school schedule that I put together, we have, I think there's 1 week we have 3 games, but most 90% of the weeks it's 2 games a week. So the schedule is Mondays are typical training sessions, Tuesdays games. Wednesdays are always film review, recovery, maybe a little bit of training, but typically it's very light. Thursday game, and then either Friday is off or a bit of training as well. So once a week film review. I think film's important, but you have to be, like I said, intentional with it. You don't just want to watch a whole 90-minute game every single time you play. I think that's very draining to players, especially when you're in season and you still have club soccer and all these other things going on, homework, X, Y, and Z happening. So I think, like for me, when I go into a film review with the players, typically most of the time I choose a few moments in the game, sometimes collectively as a team, sometimes in key moments as well. Whether it's one individual, typically it's not just one individual, but we just review things out of possession, in possession, and it's key moments. So I review the film myself, then I come to the players, and this is what I show them. Hey, this needs to be better, or this is how we're looking to go into the next game because this team does this. I think film is very important. In high school soccer, it can be you can be very strategic with things. Sometimes the field's a bit thinner as well, so there's less space out wide. So there's a lot of things you can do. But yeah, I think film's important. If I had to give it a number, 1 out of 5, 5 being very important, I would say a 3. I think film's decently important.
Nice. All right then. So, could you got time for a couple more minutes with me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So you have all that to come. There's a purpose uh, for what you do, and your why, and that you have this purpose, on purpose, with a purpose, for a purpose, and you being the first one that I've ever asked this question to, and I'm writing it down, and I'm going to ask all future guests at Whale Certified, is what is your purpose?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a great. Yeah, no, that's a
yeah,
great. What's my why? I can
yeah.
give you my why.
Okay then. All right.
Yeah. So my why is so I played. I mean, soccer has been it's been a part of my life since I can ever remember. Um, so whew, I played college soccer for 4 years, and then I wanted to play a fifth year because of COVID. And this, I guess, it goes back to my testimony a little bit as to why I'm a Christian as well. But I remember sitting in my car, and I was about to go. I was at a trial. I was going for my master's at a school, at an NAIA school, and I went to go train with the team before we went move forward with a bunch of things. And I just prayed, like, what was next for me, because all I knew as a part of my life was playing club soccer, high school soccer, college soccer. Soccer has always been a part of my life, and obviously you can only play for so long, so I didn't necessarily know what was next. I just remember sitting there and praying and asking, if this is what's meant to be, show it clearly. And 10 minutes into the training session, I had tore my ACL when I was going into my COVID year. And so that kind of redirected my entire perspective on things, because an ACL tear put me out of the next season. And so before that, 2 weeks prior, I had actually the job offer to be the grad assistant at another school, which I had initially declined because I wanted to play. And a few days after I tore my ACL, scheduled the surgery and everything, I called that coach back and I said, "Hey, is that job still available?" And so gave him a call back, and then that was my first coaching job. So I was able to be a grad assistant instead of playing. And then this is where, like, the story kind of continued, and it's been crazy to see how God works in my life. I was a grad assistant. Then I coached. I started coaching at the high school level as well while I was still a college coach. Um, and then I left the school I was coaching at the college level, and I applied. I worked for the FIFA for the Club World Cup in 2025. I worked at IMG, and then this past year I worked for FIFA again for the World Cup. I worked out of Wake Forest University as a TSVO for Team Germany. Um, and then I also created a semi-professional team in the UPSL with Pinellas County United Pelicans, is what we call it.
Wow.
But all of those things, what I go back to is, if I didn't tear my ACL, none of those things would have happened, because I wouldn't have went in that direction in life. So for me, it's just crazy to look back and take a step back. And what I wanted was to continue playing as a player, but obviously God had greater, different things in mind. So I tore my ACL and all of these things for 4 or 5 years now. And yeah, it's just that's my why, is because I know the position I was in. I know how difficult it was for me as a player, so I love to give back to players and help them through these processes, whether it's them going to college or just showing that these players are more than just their identity at the soccer field. But that's genuinely my why, is because of the experiences I went through, and I'm able to impact other people's lives.
Well done. Well done. Well done. All right. So it's a custom here at Whale Certified to say, "Hey, Ryan," not "yes, your friend." You are Ethan, and say, "Hey, Ethan," and congratulations on doing the World Cup. It was really a banger. So here it comes down to the story of whatever you want to say to who you ever want to say it to, for as long as you want to say it for.
Let's repeat that one more time. I'm sorry.
All right then. Yeah, it usually always gets everybody, is that whatever you want to say, to who you ever want to say it to, for as long as you want to say it for, Whale Certified is offering you that opportunity right now.
Yeah, I think I would, if someone came up to me and I guess asked for advice or if I could say anything to anyone, I would say do things because you love them and because you're passionate about it. Um, yeah, I think that's one big thing that's helped me in my career is I always look to do things that like I genuinely love, right? Like I work in the athletic realm because I love athletics. I work in soccer. I coach in soccer because I love to coach. So do things because you love it. And always, going back to servant leadership. So always, you don't know what's going on in other people's lives. So always set an example and, always be a helping hand. So those are the few things I would say.
Wonderful. And just to repeat, ladies and gentlemen, he's a rookie, and he made Whale Certified Hall of Fame on the first attempt. Very nice, Ethan. So I want you to know that I know this has been outstanding, and I hope will be able to find time for us to have a fine time doing another episode and so forth. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
All right then. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Whale Certified, and you know you can be Whale Certified too if you try.